rebuilding history.
We just flew across the Atlantic Ocean on a quest for knowledge, really.
And traveling thousands of miles to get close to the beginning of shipbuilding.
Good morning from Copenhagen.
Lead shipwright Joe Connor and lead rigger and shipwright Sam Hilgartner are about 6 months into rebuilding the Maryland Dove. That's the 17th century ship that brought the first European settlers to Maryland.
This is the backbone for the new Dove. We have 6 frames up already.
You can see part of the frame is now in place at the shipyard at the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum in St. Michael's.
We went and visited a ship. It was a Dutch-built ship in Sweden, but it was built the exact same time. It was built in 1626, and 95% of it is still intact. So we were able to actually crawl around down below and all over this ship that was built in the exact same time period.
We're carving out trunnels in the traditional fashion, in the way that they were doing it in the Viking Age.
Back in October, Joe and Sam made stops at 2 museums in Denmark and Sweden, checking on their historical accuracy. The Dove is owned by the state of Maryland, but the museum paid for the trip, and they're creating a YouTube series from the videos.
Past blocks they endured. That can give us some respite knowing that this is a tried and true, very dependable material for this application.
Made from trees in Cecil County, ash trees are also a tradition from Europe.
This shape is something that was seen in a vessel of the time period that we're recreating.
What will it look like when those blocks are on the Dove?
Yeah, so this is actually a finished block of the early 17th century style. This is exactly what they will all look like, more or less, when they're on the vessel. Some are larger, some are smaller.
Joe said the trip allowed him to check on how the wood connectors, called trunnels, were assembled.
Trunnels. So what we found out is the way that we were putting these together is exactly how the British, which is just wedged on each side. So they're wedged on each side and cut flush.
And the king plank is on the naval architect's drawing of the Dove.
Pretty much any time one piece of wood was passing another, they were using this joint. This was like the most common.
When Bay Bulletin visited for an update, Noah Thomas was measuring each trunnel before the double frame was fastened together.
And then you drill a 1-inch hole through both halves of the frame, and you drive one of these through.
Master shipwright Frank Townsend told us about the wood from Y Island on Maryland's eastern shore. DNR is allowing them to cut down some trees.
This stuff is like 200 years old. It's not a little shrub anymore, it's 18 inches in diameter.
The new ship will include features that were not known in 1978 when the first Maryland Dove replica was built. She is historic St. Mary's City's floating ambassador. The new Dove is expected to launch in 2021.
And a lot of the things that we're concerned with is, passing on skills, and these old world skills and knowledge of how these things were done is is almost just as important as the final product.
For Chesapeake Bay Magazine's Bay Bulletin, I'm CHERYL Costello.